Hey everybody, this is Jim of Animateducated, and today you're going to learn a little bit about a show called Sublo and Tangy Mustard. I always ask everybody how what inspired you to get into animation or what made you go, yeah, I want to do this kind of thing.
Well, I always liked cartoons as a kid. It's not a great answer, but it's kind of the truth. Like, as soon as I started thinking, like, oh, things, adults have jobs. What are some jobs I might want to do? Like, even, when I was like 5 or something, I was always like, oh, I like drawing. Maybe I'll do comics or cartoons. Uh, but I also like doing music. There's a bunch of stuff, but animation was sort of the thing that I ended up honing in on as it became closer and closer to having to actually focus on something.
Yeah.
Um, and Looney Tunes were one of the big things that I loved as a kid. I mean, there's a lot of great animation on TV in the 90s, and I liked a lot of anime too. That uh, sort of felt like an alternative option or it's like there's a very sort of linear like Looney Tunes and Disney kind of. There's one like track, or there was at the time. Now it's sort of more blended together in younger generations, I guess. But there was like, traditional Western stuff and then traditional, anime stuff. And they felt very separate, but I sort of was inspired by both of them.
I came across Sublo and Tangy Mustard, and I started watching those and just and I was going, wow, this guy's really good. He's got all these like episodes, and it's not just like one thing or a bunch of fart jokes or something, but there's actually,
There's some fart jokes though.
well, yeah, there is some, but they're kind of throughout the, it's not like key, you know,
Yeah, hopefully not.
entertainment. I mean, you go into a lot of character development and you introduce, characters and people that a lot of people have probably come across different character types, things like that.
Yeah, it's very inspired by, people I see in real life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of, especially some of the incidental characters, like the guy that Sublo meets in the club in the latest episode. This weird, random, aggressive guy who just starts talking to him.
Huh? Sure.
This DJ is sick. He's from the West Side.
Yeah, I know.
Look, let me tell you a secret. The West Side is the best side.
Okay.
There's a lot of real life in that character.
I know someone that reminds me of Vanessica,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like to a T.
Katie and I are regulars. I can show you all the spots where I threw up.
And then in your latest episode, it's very interesting what she does with her gum.
Oh yeah, the gum, yeah. That
But
is not based on a real life
yeah,
experience, fortunately.
yeah,
It was just
yeah.
something I thought was funny.
Yeah. Also, in the latest episode, you've got you've got them introduced to smearing, which I thought was really hilarious.
What are you guys doing?
We're getting smeared.
You want a smear? It really lets you savor every little move.
Oh my god, it's so wild.
It's like you're swimming in water, but the water's swimming in you.
I'm good. I'm gonna go find Tangy Mustard.
It's just that was sort of an idea I had for something else that I haven't done yet. And then when I was writing this season of Sublo and Tangy Mustard, I sort of found a spot where, oh, like I was going to do this thing where they go to a club, and maybe that could be where they do the smearing thing, and it sort of fit together in a way that felt good.
Mhm.
And I thought like if Katie was the one who gets the smear overdose kind of thing, where she gets stuck in the smear, I felt like it might be a little unsettling because you sort of care more about her. But Vanessa is such a dumb side character that she like exists in like she's further away from reality, to begin with.
Right.
So it's a little easier to accept that like this horrifying thing is happening to her, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I like all the characters. Sublo, I guess Sublo is you told me is your cousin.
My cousin Ryan Long plays Sublo. He's a stand-up comedian, and he at the time that we started the show, he was doing a lot of cable access shows in Canada where he was sort of a man on the street. approaching strangers with the microphone. And
we had a bunch of honey dips there, and we had one girl that was actually pretty fit that actually kind of had a thing for him before she saw him ruining it.
A good friend would see if they could help.
You don't think a fit honey would be like pretty good for anyone who's depressed? You don't know what fit honey is? A hot chick?
A what?
You've never seen that, a hot chick?
Oh yeah, but I...
Oh, you've seen mostly sixes, or?
No, I don't understand. I didn't know the reference.
But anyway, yeah, Ryan plays Sublo. That was one of the reasons I cast him as Sublo. I just thought he would be funny for it.
Yeah, no, he's really good, and all the voices and all your casts are really unique, and they make sense. They make, you know, I don't know, I would know people that sound like that, and
They're just all friends and family of mine who I think have, you know, fun, strong personalities and distinctive voices. Kevin Doan, who plays Tangy Mustard, was one of my best friends from high school, and a lot of his mannerisms are just, you know, I just put them into the Tangy Mustard and have him do the same things that Kevin does. And then Heather Mazar plays Katie. She's another friend of mine from, I used to work with her back in Toronto. And she's, you know, really funny, really sweet. And she's brought a lot to Katie. Like, her performance is kind of informed, not in a literal sense, but like the way that she is so good at whatever I've sort of like given her things to do, like in the party episode in the first season, you know, I was like, oh, I was happy with how that turned out. So I'll give her more sort of stuff like that to have Katie do. And then Vanessica is my friend Felicia Fuentes. She's an animator here in LA. Just, you know, really talented animator, but also just a hilarious person. So much energy. And Tito is my cousin Jack. He's also, you know, just kind of good for that character, I think.
I think he's hilarious too. He's just has that real, like, he's that guy that, you know, that is just like, you know, doesn't do much and won't do doesn't do anything really unless you tell him. And he's like, whoa, and the whole thing with the pants and, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. So
I didn't mean for that to become such a saga, but you know, I thought it would just be funny if she took his pants and then said, oh, I have no more, those are my only pair of pants.
yeah,
This is sort of like an ending tag to that scene or episode or whatever.
Right.
But then in the break between seasons, everybody kept saying, oh, I wonder what's going to happen with Tito. Is he going to get his pants back? And I was like, oh, I guess I should write that into this to show and resolve that. And then it, you know, became this big thing.
Yeah.
It sort of helped generate an episode, basically.
And then you actually are in the first few episodes as Dick.
Oh, yeah, I do the voice of Mr. Dick Obama. That's me. I didn't mean for him to like fade out of the show, but
yeah.
It's just the last few have been more about the outside of subpar stuff. But the next, he's going to be popping up again.
I remember you said that he's based on a Jackie Gleason from Smoking the Bandit.
Basically, Sheriff Buford T. Justice from that movie.
I'm going to bust your mama in the mouth.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
that movie's weird because it has no real ending. It just, there's no climax, you know?
Yeah,
it's just like they're driving, and they're like, oh, we're not going to make it. And then suddenly, like, oh, they made it.
Yeah.
Like, what changed? How come suddenly they were able to make it? But Buford T. Justice is a character for the ages.
The first episode is just kind of a real nice introduction to like like watching a videotape from, like, you know, I guess the 80s or something, where it's like that kids advertisement where, you know, you got the Tangy Mustard and Sublo and who they really are from the commercial. And then we see our characters dressed as that. We never actually see what they look like without their costumes, which is really fun because it's like, you think, oh, well, they're going to change out of that. But through the whole series, they're always in that because their boss told them, I don't want to see you ever get out of that costume, you know. And so they took us, okay, we won't.
If I see you outside that costume, I'll fire your ass for being ugly.
Yeah. I think what he says.
I was curious, like, so when you do this, I mean, you're doing this on your own, and you've worked at different, you know, studios. You worked on Bojack Horseman, and you worked on Triptank, and you did the animated titles for Tuca and Bertie. So how do you balance that, I guess, between work and, you know?
It's kind of tricky. Lately, like the past few months, I haven't been doing any full-time series work of just, there's some little freelance here and there, but basically I would sort of write a season of Sublo and Tangy Mustard. And I mean, well, so I was on Bojack, which was luckily, like a long running show where every, at the end of every season, they'd usually have a pretty good sense of if they were coming back in like 3 months. So you'd kind of have like a little summer vacation. And sometimes there'd be other projects at the studio that you could hop onto to keep you busy. But so sometimes I would do those, but I would also write some Sublo and Tangy Mustard episodes, and then record them, and then I'd try and storyboard a bunch of them. But I'd basically have stuff that I could be animating while I was then storyboarding or directing or whatever on Bojack. So it's hard to do the same thing at home. Like if I was storyboarding on Bojack, it would be hard to go home and storyboard on Sublo. But if I'm storyboarding on Bojack, I can go home and pick off a shot or two of Sublo animation, just because it doesn't feel like it's the exact same thing. Your brain hasn't been doing that specific thing for like 8 hours or 9 hours, whatever.
Right.
But I found it hard to build momentum during a season of Bojack. Like if I didn't have an episode I was already working on, it could be hard to start the next one. But even on like a week off, for the studio would close for like Thanksgiving, and sometimes that would give me a little momentum to get the next one started.
Mm-hmm. It started like in what, like
2015, I think.
2015.
I got the idea at the very end of 2014, and I started doodling the characters, and I actually wrote the theme song really early, just because I like doing music, and it was just, I tend to start doing music for stuff before I even have solid stuff to make music for. I'm just like, oh, if I do a show, then I can do a song for the show, so that was actually one of the first things I did. But yeah, 2015 is when it started. I wrote a few episodes and recorded, I think we recorded 6, but I only ended up making 4 of those in that first season. Because I sort of was, as I started making the show, I figured out what did and didn't really fit into it. And one of the episodes I ended up coming back to and rewriting for the second season, the convention one. That was, we recorded that the same first day of recording as all the other early ones, but then I rewrote chunks of it and we recorded it again for season 2.
Like how many scripts do you do kind of ahead of time and then record them?
The first season I wrote 6 and we did 4. The second season I wrote 10 and we did 9 of them or something. And then the third season I've written 9. And so we record, like 9 or 10 episodes at once, basically in like a 3-hour session with each voice actor. And I feel like it helped me with the writing to be able to have a few episodes to work with. So I don't feel like, oh, this episode has to have Mr. Woobomber and it's got to have some Katie and it's got to have some Tito. I can spread the characters and ideas out through a season and sort of be aware of it as I'm writing it. And then it's also easier to just get an actor. Like Ryan lives in New York. I'm in LA a lot of the time. Half the actors are in LA, half are in Toronto. So it's easier to schedule somebody and be like, hey, I've got a couple of hours of scripts to go through. Let's do them all today, as opposed to like, let's have you come in for 15 minutes today and then another 15 minutes in 3 months or something.
Before you did this, I mean, you worked on, you had a short series of films called Fester Fish that was kind of back in the heyday of like animation, looking like the 20s or 30s.
Yeah. Fester Fish was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was doing those sort of as like a student. I would do like one of them roughly each year of my animation college. Not for the school. It was totally outside the school. And I think at the time they were a little like, hey, don't do that. Like, why are you working on cartoons outside of school? Because they had a curriculum and they were like, follow the curriculum. Stupid. Like, we'll tell you how to learn. Which maybe was, I could certainly see why they were like, don't do your own stuff. Just focus on what we're asking you to do. But I kind of rushed some of the work I did for the school. And then, like in terms of homework, I'd sort of like shit out whatever the assignment was sometimes so that I could spend more time on, so that I'd have more time to work on my thing that I was like, this is the thing I really care about. And then, I'd put them online, and Jerry Beck on Cartoon Brew would always share them on there, which was really nice of him. And it led to getting some work, which ended up leading, like some freelance, which then ended up leading to me working at Shadow Machine in Los Angeles. Scout Raskin hired me during my last year of school to sort of do like an indie short for her that she wrote and produced, and I did the animation for it. And then after that, she was like, "Hey, do you want to keep working for me? I have a show you could come work on." And then I did, and that basically got the ball rolling with all the other stuff I've done professionally.
It's great that to see that you're working on your own stuff, but you're and that's the whole reason, is to work on your own stuff so you can show people what you've done, and maybe it might lead to other things that you didn't even know about.
Well, even with school, I felt like there was times when we did the industry night thing at the end of the fourth year or whatever, third or fourth year. A lot of people just had like, their exercises were like, their demo reel was, here's the bouncing ball exercise, here's a lip sync exercise, here's like a character rotation or something. And it's like, this isn't really going to stand out. But I was lucky that I'd made these other shorts, because then I could put them on my demo reel. I'd put these scenes from like finished cartoons in my demo reel. And then I think some of the people coming to visit were like, whoa, what's this one? This one's got some extra stuff in it. It's not just pencil test animation exercise. It's a flour sack. Like, it's hard to, unless it's like the best flour sack ever, you're not going to get hired because they're like, wow, we really love that flour sack weight exercise you showed us.
The whole point of a demo reel is to kind of try to get you that first job, so that you do get work on something, you can put that on your reel and take out something else, and you
can always
kind of build up your
reel can totally
portfolio.
be like a flexible, like amorphous thing that changes as you're like, okay, well, 3 months ago I hadn't done this new shot that I like, so now I'll put this in my reel. Although I feel like sometimes people worry too much about updating it like every few months, but it is good to keep it relatively current. I forgot to for years, basically. Between like 2013 and 2022 or something, I just, because I was still working at the same place, so they already knew me. But if you're looking for, I was on a work visa too. If you're on different jobs from studio to studio, I think the reel is more important. It's good to have stuff that shows your own personality in your reel, and your own, not necessarily your own style. Well, yeah, your own style, but you don't want to be like, this is the one style I draw in. But it is I think it's useful, because I've been in that hiring position a little bit on Tuca and Bertie, where you do want to get a sense of who this person is artistically, as well as just do they have the skill? Like, do they have the like sort of the right taste for the show, maybe almost, or can they do that taste? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's like, even in the interview process, you're showing your reel. People, I've been in that situation where they just are scanning through your reel, like, does he have this? What is it?
Well, that's its own problem, yeah. When
and then
people are like, oh, we're doing a show about two birds, and you don't have any.
Yeah, you don't have any birds.
You don't have any birds in your thing.
Nice to meet you.
We don't know if you can draw a bird. And you're like, well, I've drawn like 50 other animals. I've drawn like all styles of people and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be annoying.
Yeah.
But you do kind of want to get an idea of somebody's like the right sensibility. I mean, even if they haven't demonstrated, it doesn't mean they can't do it. But if there were some people on this who we hired on Tuca and Bertie who we looked at their reel and it was like, wow, this person's basically already drawing in the style of the show. This would be perfect. Because there's always a little bit of like training you into the style of a show, or even, I mean, sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes you get through a season and you're like, yeah, this person never really got the look we were trying to get, but they did good work in some other ways.
Have you pitched any of your own ideas to studios, or pitched, a series to anybody? Yeah,
I've pitched Sublo and Tangy Mustard a couple of times, sort of half-heartedly, honestly. I mean, in the pitch, I'm, fairly energetic and excited, and I'm enthusiastic. I'm like, oh, if I sell this to them, that'd be cool. But in preparation for a pitch, I'm always kind of like, well, I'm already sort of making the show. It feels weird to be like, please, like, give me permission to make this show. I mean, you want the money, but you're always aware that there's like a creative compromise too, if you're already making it. because that's the problem with Sublo is it's so just it is what it is already in my head. So like I was pitching it to one place recently, or talking about pitching it, and they were like, it'd be cool if maybe there was more of like a Latino angle to the show. And I was like, well, I'm not Latino, and none of the characters are. Maybe Tito, maybe Vanessa, but like they wanted like one of the main characters to be Latino because it was sort of a Spanish language, primarily a Spanish language company. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, Sublo and Tangy Mustard and Katie and Mr. Woobomber, none of them are Latinos, so it would be kind of weird to, and I'm not. So I didn't feel like that was a change that made sense to me. Because and also I'm like, well, they already exist. They already have these voices and these personalities. You know, that was the point I was making. It was just it already is what it is. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, it can be whatever you want it to be as long as you buy it. But I've pitched other things that are more, you know, just like a one sheet kind of, here's an idea for an idea almost, you know, and that also hasn't gone anywhere. But I think it can be a little more successful when you're pitching. It'd be more flexible, right?
So do you have an agent that helps you like get the pitch meeting, or do you just kind of run into someone that you know that's at a studio and say, hey, or how does that work?
No, I don't have an agent. Every time I pitched, it's just been because somebody's like, hey, come pitch here. And then said they didn't want the thing that they knew I was going to pitch. You know, like nobody's paying me to do Sublo and Tangy Mustard other than my patrons, but I do get work based on the fact that somebody likes Sublo and Tangy Mustard and wants me to do a thing sort of like what I did there, or like Fester Fish or whatever, you know. And I did this DMX meets David Bowie short with like collage a couple of years ago, and you know I've been a few people who came and were like, hey, could you do a thing like that?
Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo!
It's 12 o'clock at night. This fella,
DMX! Come on! Knock, knock, open up the door, David!
yeah, I mean,
I know how to get up in the fucking building, kick down the door!
No.
Wait up, David! Wait up! Wait up! Come on, rise and shine. Come on, rise and shine.
Fine.
It's the actual audio of DMX and David Bowie just cut up, and you know, because there's a cappella versions of just DMX's rapping on YouTube, and it's so funny listening to it because like, I mean, he's the best. He's one of my favorite performers ever. But it's so funny because you know he'll be like doubled up he like overdubs himself on certain words for emphasis. So like if you just edit that into like dialogue, then he'll just randomly be shouting certain words really hard, and it just, I don't know. It started making me laugh when I was doing it a little bit, and then I started thinking, okay, maybe I could make this like a story or something. And then I love David Bowie too, and so his stuff came from interviews mostly. Like there's a clip where he's talking about monopolies in like business, and then I was like, oh, maybe I cut off the S. It could sound like he's talking about the board game Monopoly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go to jail? What?
Well, I'm extremely happy.
I can't wait to see the next episode. Is that episode 4? When do you think that's gonna be coming out?
I haven't started animating it yet. I think I have it storyboarded, but I haven't drawn a frame of it yet, so it's gonna be a while. But it's not as big and intense as the nightclub episodes.
Are you planning to have a holiday special?
I have recorded a sort of semi-Christmassy one for season 2. That was the one that we didn't end up doing. Because it's sort of the same thing as with the first batch. There's just one that I wasn't that happy with. I was like, oh, this is a little structureless, not that funny. But I still think about either recutting it into a shorter thing, almost just maybe like a 1 minute like holiday card kind of thing, or rewriting it into a longer one. But there's a Halloween one.
Yo, that spooked my jimmies.
Get out of here!
Man, let's make like a tree and go to that party.
Yeah, have fun with the bathroom, Katie.
The one you call Katie is no more.
No more what?
This body is now my host.
I am
Yeah.
The Booglin. Yeah.
Right. That was good. So All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, good talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Aaron. And
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Thanks again. Bye. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Aaron Long. Sublo and Tangy Mustard. You can check out his website or his YouTube channel to see more of that. And if you first of all, I want to thank you guys for I got a lot more watch hours going. So whatever you're doing, keep doing that. And thank you for all the people who've subscribed. And if you still haven't subscribed, you can push that button right there. See how subtle that was? All right. So anyway, I also have some other videos here that you might be interested in. And we'll see you next time on Animated Educated. Watch your videos. Is that the dogs barking? What is that?